I think that's one of the coolest part about working in film and being a director specifically, because at the end of the day, I don't really do anything. I mean, kind of like, sure, you steer the boat and you have the vision for things, but it's really about bringing a team of people together to achieve a goal and a vision. People can flourish and do their best work when they, feel empowered and when they are able to use their own creative energy to bring the best of their skills to the table.
Welcome back to another episode of Stories That Move. I'm Mason Geiger, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Matt Duell. Today, we've got a really exciting conversation lined up with an incredible filmmaker whose work blends raw storytelling with a cinematic edge.
Our guest today is Corry Wiens, an award-winning director and editor based in Los Angeles. Corry started his career as a commercial editor in Chicago before diving into documentary and nonprofit storytelling, where he mastered the art of creating high-quality films on tight budgets. His ability to balance story and grit has shaped his signature filmmaking style.
And while we're introducing the show today, for the interview itself, Matt will be joined by our Chief of Staff, Alexis Grant. She's stepping in as a co-host for us while I'm on the road doing some traveling to support our clients, and I know it's going to be a great conversation.
Absolutely. Whether you're a filmmaker, a creative, or just someone who loves a great story, there's a lot to take away from this episode. So let's jump in. Please welcome Corry Wiens to Stories That Move. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stories That Move. I'm your host, Matt Duell, and with me again, Alexis Grant.
Hello, here I am.
Alexis, welcome back to the co-hosting. This is second time for you.
That it is.
So the word has come in. People loved you on episode number 1, so...
Apparently.
Yeah,
Can't help it.
Job well done.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
just keep bringing you back, and Mason may come back from all his travel and just be out of a job on this one. What do you
I
think?
don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Not
That's
ready
too
to
much
commit to
pressure.
that?
That's too much pressure.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll take it one episode at a time. But
Yeah.
hey, we are so excited to be back with you all. Thank you for joining us. And hey, if you are listening, just want to make sure that you know this is also a video podcast. You can tune in on YouTube or Spotify to just check out the set, our beautiful faces, our guests as they dial in with us. And we could not be more excited about the guest that is joining us today. Alexis, this is a good friend of yours.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you take the reins on the introduction here.
Sweet. Yeah, today we have Corry Wiens, who is a director based out of LA and a really great friend of over, I think, a decade now. So back to high school me. But I'm just super excited to have him here. Corry, I'd love for you to just, introduce yourself to our audience.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. Yeah. So as Alexis said, I'm a director and editor. I'm based in the LA area. I've only been out here for like 3 years now. Prior to that, I lived in Chicago, which is where I met Alexis, and we both worked together at an agency in the Chicago area. And I was the head of production there for about 6 years before I left in 2020 to go freelance.
Sweet.
And
Awesome.
kind of been doing that ever since.
Awesome. So talk to us about just, how did you just originally get into that work? I mean, what was it for you that kind of, production became the thing for you?
Yeah, so I started making movies with my friends in high school, which I think is how a lot of people,
Yes.
at least people my age, I don't know what the kids are doing these days, but
Yes.
a lot of people got started by just goofing around and making films. And I think it started with like a high school project, and my buddies and I were like, let's do a video for this. And we made it goofy, and I'm sure it was terrible. And then that kind of led us to making more terrible and goofy films. We did like a Star Wars parody, and we eventually even made like a 40-minute long heist movie, which we we were so proud of it at the time. And we had like this big premiere and invited like all of our classmates to it and stuff. And it got into like some film festival too. It was just like a local film festival in the Chicago area. But I think from that point, everybody always talks about like you should try and make your dream a career. And if you can do the thing that you love, you never have to work a day in your life. And so I kind of just started from there, looking at colleges and being like, what can I do this, like, and get paid for it? Can I make a career out of making movies? And so that's kind of where the passion started from. Ended up going to college out in the LA area for a couple years. And then did a summer internship at a church in the Chicago area, which is where I was from.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of that summer, they wanted to hire me full time. And I was like, sweet, like I can get paid to do a job that I love without even finishing college. So I dropped out of college for a little bit. I did go back and finish my degree to, make my parents happy. But just finished with a degree in communications from school in the Chicago area. And then, so started working at a church for a while, which I think was a great opportunity to just get more hands-on experience with the filmmaking process. And then from there, went to a post-production company in Chicago for a little bit, and then was freelance for a little while, which is where I got connected with the agency that I worked with in the Chicago area, and ended up joining their team in 2014. And I think I was the fourth staff member over there in 2014, and was kind of tasked with leading the film team.
Okay.
And ended up helping to grow that agency. I think we had 17 or 18 people at one point in time.
Yep.
And then, when I left in 2020, I forget how many staff members there were, but so that's kind of my life in a little nutshell.
So speaking of goofy videos, the first time I saw Corry was through a student impact video of him, I believe, on a mega yacht with a helicopter flying above, and his long hair just in the wind. And it was kind of like a parody video.
Like an SNL on the boat sort of thing.
Really, but it was like a hype song.
That definitely inspired it, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the first time I saw who he was, but I didn't know who he was. And since then, it's just been gold. So.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
I love that. No, and I love the just getting together with high school friends and making movies. And that's absolutely, my beginnings as well. And it was my brother Mike, our friend Brian, a couple other friends. And for us, we were remaking the Cops TV show.
Oh, gosh.
Which again, it was just so stupid and ridiculous. And I think it just gave us an excuse to just physically assault each other on film, right? Like just chase each other down, tackle, throw somebody against a car. Yeah, it was fun. But out of those things, here we all are.
Something was birthed.
Yes.
Creativity.
Yes.
A career.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, you have, done a ton of things and worked through agency. And hey, by the way, I got to say, before we got on, Alexa said to me, Corry, best boss I ever had, which that's pretty amazing. So high praise there. Yeah. So talk to me about, for you, just that aspect of as you grew in your career, growing and working with teams and just taking on some of those leadership roles, and just what some of that meant to you and kind of looking at things from a different perspective.
I think that's one of the coolest part about working in film and being a director specifically, because at the end of the day, I don't really do anything. I mean, kind of sure, you steer the boat and you have the vision for things, but it's really about bringing a team of people together to achieve a goal and a vision. And so whether it was, leading the film team at Ox Creative, or if it's directing a short film or whatever it is, I think being a good leader is all about empowering the people that are under you. And, I specifically with film, you want to hire people that make you look better. You want to hire people that are really talented at their job. And then you want to cut them loose to do their best work and to empower them to bring the best of what they have to the table. And so I've never really liked the micromanagey style of leading. I've always believed that people can flourish and do their best work when they, feel empowered and when they are able to use their own creative energy to bring the best of their skills to the table. And it might not exactly be what you had in mind to begin with. And I think that's another part of the joy of being a director is when people bring something to the table that's not exactly what you had envisioned, but it's, sometimes it's even better, and it could be like a completely different like right turn, but it could make it like even more awesome than what you imagined. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So Alexis, I'll turn it on you. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to experience this firsthand. Like, how have you seen that play out through Corry and the work that you all did together?
Yeah, Corey, you used that word empowerment. Man, that is something I've been working on for years with you, right? Of just, Alexis, you've got a voice, use it, or just take a risk and be bold. And so I love that you're able to tie it into of like, okay, yes, it is about empowering others to do good, to do better, to contribute to things that maybe they didn't think of before and shape that perspective. And so as a director, I think that's just really neat that you get to rally yourself with those different creatives, right? Like, we are better together. We are not better off alone. And I think that in itself is so powerful, right? To create a story that truly moves, right? Like, it's on the sign, stories that move. Like, you get to do that not on your own, but as a collective. Yeah. So that's just really cool. And yeah, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being that person for me for the last couple of years and continuing to do so. But this is not about me and Corry. This is about Corry and stories that move and all the things.
Yeah. Well, I love that, a lot of times we have guests and they can come on and say whatever they want, and we have no way of fact checking it. But right here, we've got you guys work together for a little bit.
I approve of this message.
Yeah, perfect. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah. I'll get right on those edits though later on.
Yeah. Let's get to work.
Get to work.
So Corry, you at the last few years made the decision to leave Chicago, the place you were kind of born and raised, spent a lot of time, and head out west. So talk to us about that. Tell us that story. What led to that decision?
Yeah, it started in 2019, and I to be completely truthful, I had like a crazy spiritual experience that I don't necessarily feel like I should get 100% into, because people might think I'm crazy. But what that led to was really asking the question of myself, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And it came back to those moments of my childhood where I loved making these films with my friends, and I always had these dreams of like going to Hollywood and being a director and making big movies and like being in the entertainment industry. And I think as life took off, got a full-time job, got married, had kids, and a stable career doing film. I was very thankful for any kind of career doing anything remotely video related. And so I was very content. But then, that question was kind of nagging at me, like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And I want to be in entertainment. I want to make movies. That's like what I want to do. And you're not gonna be able to achieve that if you don't take steps towards it. And so if you kind of vision your life 5 or 10 years from now and picture yourself where you want to be, you kind of have to run the clock back then and figure out like, okay, what steps did I take to get to where I want to be? And so I knew that, something I had to start taking some big steps, and I didn't always know exactly what I was doing or what steps to take. But my wife and I felt like if we eventually were going to end up in the Los Angeles area, which obviously is the hub for where feature films are made, and that's just where everything's at. We were like, well, maybe we should make this move when our kids are young. At the time, we had I think it was a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and like 1-year-old, maybe 2-year-old.
Yeah,
one.
I don't know. They maybe it was 6'4" and 2. I don't honestly.
There's 3 kids either way.
They were young, 3 young kids.
Yeah,
and our oldest was in 1st grade at the time. So, and this is, I first left my job was what happened first, and so that was kind of the impetus for everything. Was like, okay, first I need to like leave my stable career, and I need to start like taking steps towards this dream. And the first step was leaving the job. So I did that. I was freelance for a while, still in the Chicago area. And then as we started to like work through some of that, we were like, okay, maybe we need to make the move out to Los Angeles and kind of be where the action is. And so that's when we started thinking through, let's make this move while the kids are young, before we have to like fully uproot them and tear them away from friends and everything. Because people were like going through COVID and everything at the time too.
Gosh.
So they didn't really have like any close friends at the time, because everybody was kind of socially distancing, and school was in like a weird place of like being online and everything. And so anyway, so that's kind of what led to us then making that move at the end of we moved out here. It was like 2 days after Christmas. We had the house packed up and left. So we like kept the tree up, did Christmas with the kids and everything. But it was 2 days after Christmas, 2021 was when we left. And then we spent a couple days with my parents in Illinois. And from there, we did like a long, like week-long road trip out to Los Angeles. So we didn't end up actually out here until January of 2022.
Okay.
And so been out here for about 3 years now. But that, honestly, I still kind of pinch myself that we did that move, because that was crazy, especially with the 3 young kids.
Right.
Yeah. No kidding.
It's like middle of COVID, 3 young kids.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's
Why
go.
not?
Perfect time.
I know.
How can you fail?
Right. Totally.
Not to mention just tying that to Christmas for your kids of like,
Oh, gosh.
Santa took away our home.
But there are still gifts under the tree.
Right. Yeah. We gave them gifts, and then it was like, okay, now throw everything in the box and we got to go.
Well, let's dive into, you have a short film, an award-winning short film called Defy the Odds. It's about Bill Lester and his journey in NASCAR. And I got to watch it the other day as we were kind of talking about sitting down talking to you. And oh my goodness, just so good. Excited to talk to you about that. Talk to us a little bit about it. Share a little bit of what it is and what drew you to that story.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to what started it all. So I'd been looking for some kind of like passion project to do after going freelance. And I wanted it to be something, I feel like a lot of directors make spec ads, and they spend a lot of time and money on these like fake commercials, essentially, which are, you kind of need to, unfortunately. It's kind of the name of the game. But I really didn't want to like spend my time and money just making like a fake ad for a brand or a product that I'm not associated with. And so I tried to find something that I thought would have commercial appeal. Like it's something that I could take footage from and, show to agencies and be like, hey, I'm a director. Look what I can do. You should hire me for your commercial stuff. But also something that like tells a compelling story. And so I came across this book that Bill Lester had written. I actually have a copy right here. I'll rep the book for you. Winning in Reverse by Bill Lester. It's his memoir.
Yeah.
And I read through it in like a weekend. And this guy has such an incredible story. Basically, in a nutshell, he's one of the first black NASCAR drivers to make it to the Cup Series. And he's one of the first black NASCAR drivers to actually win a NASCAR sanctioned race, to get first place in it. So in the even crazier part of the story to me is that he didn't actually get into NASCAR until he was 37 years old. Prior to that, he worked at Hewlett Packard as a software developer. And he was kind of climbing the corporate ladder. He did amateur racing on the side. So he was in that world still, but he just one day decided like, I want to go after my dream of being a NASCAR driver. And so he quit his comfortable corporate job and went after that head first. And so he had like a trifecta of odds against him going into NASCAR, because he was black. He was not from the South. He was from Northern California. and he was older than the typical NASCAR
Right.
driver when he was going into it. And so just so many odds stacked against him, and for him to make it as far as he did was just an incredible testament to his determination and willpower and skill
Yeah.
behind the wheel. And so anyway, so I got the book, read through it. I was like, man, this is a story that I feel like really needs to be told. And I didn't want to do anything without his permission. So I put together like a pitch deck, and I was like, here's how I'm picturing this film getting made and this story being told. And then I had to find his email address on
some
the internet,
digging.
which proved to be a challenge. But I eventually got a hold of him and was like, hey, I don't want anything in return. I'm not asking for money or anything. I just want to tell your story. And I want your blessing to tell your story. And so we hopped on a call. I shared the pitch deck with him and my vision for it. He brought his agent into the conversation as well, just to make sure like there's nothing fishy going on, and to make sure that they could trust me with his story, I think. And so I ended up being in partnership with Bill Lester and telling this short film. And there's so many crazy stories from this because it was very ambitious. It's a NASCAR story, and so I wanted to tell part of that, and getting onto like a big NASCAR track and doing all that was going to be that was an insurmountable obstacle. And so what we ended up doing was focusing more on his victory that he got, which was in the GT circuit. So it's more sports cars on like a winding road course versus like a big NASCAR oval.
Yeah.
And so we honed in on that race, and I'll give you the short version of the story, and you can let me know if you want to go more into the the gritty details of how it all came together. So I ended up partnering with this great production company that was in the Nashville area. They're called Gear 7. And they came alongside the film, and they were generous enough to provide their team and their camera cars and equipment towards the project. And then our next challenge was finding a private racetrack that would let us film there. And then the hardest part was actually finding the two cars for the film, which Bill Lester won his race in 2011, and he was driving a 2012 Camaro. And it was important to me to find a car that looked the right part, So I was trying to find like a 2012 Camaro. So that was actually one of the craziest stories of how we were able to actually find somebody who had these two cars, and they were already decorated essentially to look like race cars because they were actual race cars that he had. And so we didn't have to like do much work on that front. But yeah, so there were just so many hurdles to getting this thing made, and it's crazy to look back and reflect on it. And just really thankful for everybody who came alongside that film and believed in it and made it happen.
I'd love to hear even just like the experience of filming, not just the how, but like, how was it on set? You got all the locations, or you got all the crew, you went down to Nashville, like, just tell me some fun stories, like this is your passion project. Like, it's not just a job. You get to have fun and do it at your own pace. You're your own client. Like, tell me about that experience.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did one shoot day on the racetrack, which is about like an hour and a half outside of the Nashville area. And Bill Lesser, who is from Atlanta, he ended up driving, I think it was like a 4-hour drive for him or something, but he ended up driving up to be with us on set when we were on the racetrack. So that was really cool to have him there, to be a part of it. I know some of the NASCAR fans that were on set with us were kind of geeking out having them there. But yeah, so that day on the track, I just remember it was a dream. Like it was so much fun chasing these two race cars around the track, and I got to be in the camera car as we're pursuing them. And there's obviously like a lot of there's a lot of control involved with it, and very precise movements that have to be choreographed with the cars and the drivers. But it was just a blast. It definitely wasn't without its challenges. One of our two cars broke down,
of course,
like halfway through the shoot, and they blew the clutch, so it was not something that could be easily fixed.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually supposed to be the primary car. So we had a black car and a white car, and I really loved the look of the black one. I thought it looked very like I don't know, just kind of like aggressive,
Sweet,
like on the track. I'm
yeah.
like, let's have that one be his car. And that was the one that broke down. So like, so the first half of the day, we shoot like these cat and mouse kind of sequences where they're like chasing each other, and then the primary car that I pictured being like our hero car broke down, and so we had to pivot. Thankfully, we had two cars, and we were able to just switch and do the rest of the filming that day with the white car. And we made it work, but that was stressful. It's a whole different experience when it's your own money on the line, producing something, and it's like, oh my gosh, like what are we gonna do?
Yep.
Yes.
Welcome to our world, Corry, of producing.
It's so
it's
all the things you never dealt with, but we had to.
I love that. All right, so really quickly, you'll appreciate this. So, I was working on a film with a friend, and we had set up the scene, and it was inside of a bank, and it was a bank robbery thing.
Oh, gosh.
And we had the car, the getaway car parked outside. And of course, we were working, with the bank and local law enforcement and the whole thing. And so for the bank robbery, we literally closed all of the shades, the blinds, so that, people couldn't see in. And so then we transitioned to go outside for the runaway escape. And I mean, literally, we're coming out the door with the Steadicam, the actor, and we kind of turned to go, and the getaway car's gone.
It's gotten away.
It's just gone. Turns out a neighbor in the neighborhood came out, sees the car parked outside their house. It's a crappy looking car, by design. And so they're like, who parked this crappy car? And so then they look at the plate and realize we got a fake plate for the movie, right? And they're just like,
no,
this is a fake license plate.
Oh my gosh.
So they call the sheriff's office, and whoever was on call just hadn't gotten the memo of what we were doing, and they towed the car.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we got outside. So then it leads to me. I'm on the phone with the tow truck driver, literally trying to convince him this is real.
Yeah.
And then negotiating with him to come back. Like, because I guess their payment comes off of the fact that it goes into the impound.
Right.
And then they get paid for that. So I'm offering him just like handfuls of cash to come back. Like, what is it going to cost to have you come back and bring the car? So anyway, I can really appreciate what it means to have a car break down and realize, okay, what do we do now?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
And you're like, we have to wrap at 5.
Yes, exactly. We're losing sunlight. Yeah, everything. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. It's so stressful. But
yes.
You gotta think quickly, and
it's all about that creative problem solving, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Okay. So with what's the total runtime on your film?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Yeah. So
it's short. Yeah.
Very short. So, and this is what I want to unpack with that, because I think people look at that and they're like, okay, 3-minute film, like, cool, you probably did that in like an afternoon. And it's like, absolutely not. Like, there was so much work and heart and soul that was poured into that 3 minutes. So unpack that for us, for our listeners who, maybe aren't, up to speed with just some of what goes into that. Like, what goes into that 3 minutes?
Yeah. Well, so we did the one day on the racetrack, filming all the car action scenes. And then we did 2 days in the studio, and we filmed a lot of it against a LED volume. And Gear 7, they have an affiliated company under their umbrella called Arc Studios in Nashville. And so we filmed at their studio. They had the LED wall and everything. So that was really cool to be able to work on. So that was one day. We did like all this Unreal Engine stuff, and then the second day in the studio, we had to build a set for our office scene. So there's like the cubicle scene, which was one thing, and then we also had our C-suite office scene, which we built like an L-shaped set for, with vertical blinds and the desk in there, and so that one wasn't Unreal Engine. That one we actually built the set and just put like a city skyline on the LED wall behind them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. It's a 3-day shoot. for a 3-minute short film.
Yes. But even in a 3-day
yeah.
shoot, I mean, the amount of pre-production you did to lead up to those 3 days, and then the amount of post-production on the back end, all in concept to completion. What do you think you put into this, just from a time standpoint?
Time-wise?
Yeah.
I don't know, countless hours.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
He hasn't
Especially
slept
when it's
since.
like a labor of love. Yeah, I did not like track my own time on this, and I'm glad that I did, because it would probably be a crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you mentioned post-production. We like, that's a whole process of discovery when you're in post. My initial vision for the way that the film played out, I don't think worked super well. And so we had like this early version of the edit, and just wasn't really working for me. And like, I think like a month after we released it, I recut like the whole thing, and I feel much better about where it's at now. And that's the version that you can see online. But yeah, so it's a whole process. And even in post-production, something can take shape in such a, depending on the editor and who like has the vision for it, like 2 different editors can take the same footage and create 2 very different pieces.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
No, it's so cool. And we will link to the film so our listeners can check it out and see it. And I would encourage that, because it's just so cool. And what's really cool to me now, hearing you and hearing your story, is here you are someone who kind of hit this question of, okay, if money wasn't the thing, like, what would I go do? And you went and pursued that dream. You uprooted your life, your family, moved across the country, and then you went and found a story of Bill Lester, someone who, again, is in corporate world, and then made that jump to NASCAR. So almost finding like that parallel track that you grabbed and made that story. And I think one of my favorite parts of the film is just that tension that you create in that C-suite scene between him and the boss, and just kind of that feeling of just, you're feeling the tension of him making that decision to go all in and to do this. And I just thought it was so cool. So man, job well done. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
So with that, I know, I have friends who've worked in very similar spaces and projects, and some of their vision in kind of making the investment to do a project like this is that there's a bigger vision to take it to the next level of maybe this is kind of something you're using as a concept to make a bigger piece. So yeah, is that the case for you? Are you hoping to do more with this story, with this piece in particular?
It is 100%. So yeah, after we made the film, it went on to, I would say it was pretty successful. We submitted it to a bunch of different film festivals, had good success there. It wasn't like a part of any of the major like Oscar qualifying ones, so it wasn't that big, I guess you could say.
Still big.
But it won some cool awards. Like, it won Best Microfilm of 2022 for the IndieX Film Festival. That was a really cool experience. We were a part of the International Motor Film Festival in London. So me and our producer and a couple other people flew out to London to be a part of that, and that was a lot of fun and just cool to celebrate with them. So after the film kind of took off a little bit, I've always thought that his story should be a feature film. And so I started conversations with Bill about potentially optioning his book, which is essentially buying the rights to tell the story as a feature film. And so fast forward through a lot of negotiations with his agent and lawyers and all that fun stuff. And I actually do currently have the option on his book, Winning in Reverse.
Awesome. Awesome.
And so I got that, it was 2 Novembers ago. And so all last year, all 2024 pretty much, was just quiet hustling of trying to develop the materials, the treatment, the pitch deck to sell this film to studios, to major studios, and to hopefully get it made as a feature film. So that's the process. That's what I've been working on. And it's starting to get some exciting traction. Which I can't go into too many of the specifics on it. But we are currently bringing it to some A-list people in Hollywood, and I'm still waiting to hear back. So nothing's like guaranteed or anything.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, we're in the process of shopping it around, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Way to go, Corey.
Yeah. No, congratulations.
Thank you, yeah.
And again, I think it's just something that is probably just not widely understood of the work that it takes to bring something like this to life. And you know, it's especially right now, I think in the era we're living in, is studios have gotten very challenging in terms of they are all in on the $300-500 million Marvel type movies, and to make anything else is really challenging today, right?
Very, very challenging.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world, and honestly, I'm learning so much as I go through this. And I found a producing partner to come alongside me, and he's done this process several times before, and so he's been a huge help and the guide for me as we navigate some of this stuff. One of the big things that was kind of interesting, a little bit unfortunate, but is what it is. But I made the decision because I originally I want to direct. That's what I want to do, and so I had myself as director on the film, and I was having a hard time initially getting some traction with it, and I made the decision a few months ago to remove myself as director and to leave that position open, and to just make myself a producer on the film. And that's actually when I started getting some traction. So, so I think it was the right call. It was a tough call. But I think at the end of the day, you know, I just want the story to be made. I want the story to be told. I want it to be done really well. And I think that was the right call. And so,
just kind of approaching it with an open hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't done a feature film yet. And so to ask for millions of dollars of the studio's trust in me because it's not going to be cheap. It's a NASCAR film. Yeah. I mean, there are cheaper ways to go about it, which I think we can do. But it's a significant uphill battle to ask for that kind of trust. So I won't be on board to direct it at least, you know, not unless every single studio passes on it and we end up making like the indie film version of it. Which I mean, maybe that'll happen.
Sure.
You know, there's always that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We've gotten in the door to have some of these big conversations now, and I think that's incredibly exciting. Yeah. And we'll see where it goes.
Very cool. Very cool.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know that, you know, and again, I think this can apply to anybody, not just filmmakers, but entrepreneurs and, you know, people in their career path of what you are doing, what you're choosing to do right now and pursuing this story and taking the next steps. I mean, it is about perseverance. It is about a certain grind and a certain mindset. How would you encourage our listeners and their endeavors of if there is that passion thing that's out there, that thing that you are aiming for? One, it's probably not going to be easy, and two, it's not going to happen unless you are just committed, kind of all in. So, how would you encourage our listeners in that?
If it's like a film thing, the film industry is so hard to make it in. And it's an uphill battle for sure. So I haven't made it yet by any means. I'm still navigating this and trying to figure it out. But my advice is like, if this is what you want to do and this is the thing that keeps you up at night, like just take steps towards it. Like I mentioned earlier, you really need to picture yourself like, where do you want to be in 5-10 years? What's your dream? What's the thing that you would do if you knew you couldn't fail? Picture that and then run the clock back. Like what steps would you have taken to get yourself there? And do those things. They might not be easy things. They might be hard, but like, that's what you have to do. And you might fail. You might not make it. I don't know. I might fail. But at least then you know that you tried. At least then, you know, like, you know, you're not going to lay on your deathbed one day wondering like, oh man, if I would have done this differently, could I have pursued this dream or done this thing, this other thing that I wanted to do? So I think just take steps towards it, and, you know, don't be afraid to dream big. Don't be afraid to take risks, but know that it comes with failure, and that's okay. That's part of the process. So.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe unpack for us what happens inside of the failure. right? Like it's not just a game over, done, but in the failure, there's learning, there's development,
There's resilience.
there's resilience. So how, in some of your attempts at things, I mean, how would you process that?
Yeah, no, I think you said it really well. Like it's every failure is a growth opportunity. I think especially in our industry where there's so much feedback and you hear so many thoughts and opinions on a video or thing that you made, it can be really tough to build up that kind of resilience. But I think it's always important to take the feedback, or in this case, the failure, and to learn from it and to acknowledge, like, okay, like I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know the best way to go about this. So let me listen to what other people are saying and find out, how do I pivot? How do I make changes? How do I do things better the next time? It happened with the short film with Defy the Odds. The first edit after we shot this awesome thing, felt so good about the footage. And then I'm the editor, so I'm the one to blame here. I just wasn't happy with it. It just wasn't hitting the way that I wanted it to. And we had initially like released it and people were like, wow, this is so cool. This is awesome. But it just like, it wasn't sitting right with me.
Yeah.
And, talked with other people and got some feedback on it as well. And I think everybody was kind about it, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. And so went back to the drawing board and reworked it and tried to learn from what, it wasn't necessarily like a failure, but learn from what wasn't working and fix it.
No, but I mean, that tells me so much about you, right? Of you could have absolutely, been drinking your own Kool-Aid to the point of like, we did it, I made it. But it's that desire to just say, no, like this isn't it yet. And the humility it would take to just kind of admit that and say, we're going to take another swipe at it. I mean, I think that's a really big deal. And listening to your gut, listening to your intuition.
Well, and being receptive to feedback too. Feedback is the hardest thing, right? Like that, I know that's something I've worked on for years and now I'm more comfortable with it. But like truly those who are giving feedback, it's not personal, like the only personal part about it is that they want to see you grow and get to that vision that you had in mind, right? But there are pivots that need to be made. There's a sense of humility that needs to come into that process. And I love that you know that about yourself, where you're like, okay, this doesn't scratch the itch. It's like there's something more to it. I was made for more. I'm dreaming bigger. And
really good. Well, Corry, as we kind of wrap this thing up here, talk to us about what you are dreaming about, for the future. Obviously, you still have some work to do and you're leaning in with Defy the Odds, but any other projects, any other things kind of on the horizon for you that you're getting excited about?
I feel like that's the big question for me right now. And I actually was just talking a couple weeks ago with my producing partner on this film, and I'm just trying to learn a lot from him through this process. And I asked him like, hey, what should I do to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success and that this isn't just like a one-time thing if this film ends up getting made and becomes like a big hit. And his advice to me was like, always be thinking of what's next and always have something else on deck, so that if somebody asks you like, hey, this is great, what else do you have? You have something that you can share with them. And so I haven't like specifically identified that yet. I have some ideas. But so I'm still working through like what the next big idea is that's coming next. And in the meantime, I direct commercial work and nonprofit stuff, and I edit, and I've kind of just been doing that as my day job. And working on the other stuff on the side. So.
Nice. Awesome. Well, like I said, we'll link in our show notes to your film, but where can people connect with you, your work? What's the best place for them to head to find out a little bit more?
Yeah, you can check out my website. It is corrywiens.com. That's Corry. It's spelled weird, so forgive me. Forgive my parents, I guess, for spelling it all weird. But it's CorryWiens.com.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
you just got to remember that I before E.
There you go.
C
there you go.
For Wiens. Yeah.
That's good. Awesome. Well, sweet. For all our listeners, I definitely would absolutely recommend go check out Defy the Odds. And man, we'll just be hoping to see the next iteration of that, hopefully in the future here. But excited for you, your journey, grateful for your story and the way that you are pursuing your passions. It's inspiring. So thank you for being willing to come on and share that with us.
Yeah, thanks, Corry.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, really appreciate it.
And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for joining us with Stories That Move. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Stories That Move, brought to you by Dream On Studios.
Make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode. And remember, if you or your organization have a story you're eager to share with the world, Dream On Studios is here to bring that story to life.
Don't hesitate to reach out. You can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or visit our website at dreamonstudios.io. We understand how overwhelming it can be trying to bring your vision and story to life, but that's why we exist. And we've walked alongside hundreds of clients doing that very thing.
Yeah. We believe every story has the potential to inspire, to move, and to make a difference. Let's make yours heard.
Until next time, keep moving forward and keep telling those stories that matter.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time on Stories That Move.